Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here with you on this Friday morning, man. It feels like fall this morning. We're over in Cross County doing the show here before we head back over into Memphis for the day. But Ben Troupe's going to join us from Savannah, ESPN Coastal in the first segment. George Plaster show, Plaster on Sports in Nashville, second segment. Hour number 2, Texas duo, Bo Carter out in Dallas, Fort Worth, the Metroplex, actually Carrollton, and Ken Capps in Dallas, live from the Texas State Fair, home of Big Tex. And it is Fried Food Frenzy on this Friday. Fried Food Frenzy Friday. We're going to do that one. That's going to be the theme of it today. Oklahoma and Texas play tomorrow. It's probably the biggest game in the country this weekend. It's the biggest game a lot of years. But after last weekend, the weekend before, we've had some really good weekends. I think the focus of the civilized world, if we can still call it that, is going to be on Atlanta, actually tomorrow for the Braves. Ben, I'm telling you, I want to say this real quick. We do 25 shows a month, 300 plus shows a year. Okay. Repetition is the mother of all skill. You see a guy like Ben Troupe catch a pass on a Saturday, or even better, on a Sunday when you play in the NFL. You've caught thousands of that same route, and it seems surreal when you run it. But practice, practice, practice. You know, Ben is living proof of that. And all you people, I got some great questions coming in. But look, it's week 6 of college football. Folks, don't get down. Always be happy, because football really goes till about January 15th, because that's the national championship, Ben. Then you got the All-Star games. Then you got the Super Bowl going on till early February. And then about a week or two later, somebody starts spring practice. And I know the players just can't wait to get out there. And so then we go to late April with spring practice. And then in May, the football magazines come out. And then we just, that's – but you got the preseason, the competitive season, the postseason, and the offseason. And you got to break it down, Ben. You know, you don't go at the same level of intensity all year. But one thing we do on Sidelines is get the best guests, like a native of Swainsboro, Georgia, went to high school in Augusta in the big city. Coolest beads. First time ever not wearing a fedora, badass hat. But Braves country. Ben, you gonna be watching that tomorrow night? You're going to be watching Kentucky play, Georgia? What's going to be or just multiple TVs?
Yeah. I was going to say multiple. I think the thing about my Bravos is, I'm always happy to see what Alexandropoulos and Snit going to do this year. I mean, since some guys been joined at the hip, they've won the NL East 5 straight years in a row. When Alexandropoulos walked into the front office, it was supposed to be he was walking by FBI agents when he took over that front office. But I think you said it the best, Rob, when you're talking about what college football is. For those people who are just casual onlookers, when you think about college football, they don't really know what they're looking at, because they just want to be entertained. If you have ties to Kentucky, think about if you're an Auburn fan today. Going into that game last week against Georgia, nobody saw it would be in 4 quarters, right? And the defensive coordinator, exactly, the defensive coordinator saying, man, it's one guy we got to stop on third down. His name is Brock Bowers. Mm-hmm. And I think, but that's what makes college football. We all these analytics, all these breakdowns, all these matchups, all these, game plans. And when the rubber meets the road, players control in between that grass. Yeah. And I think the thing about what we like now is it's parity in college football. Like when Alabama loses, it's not that Alabama's down, it's the other teams have gotten better. It's saying, hey, we have built our team to beat y'all. When you think about what happened with, Auburn last week, just like with my alma mater right now with Florida, always saying, Billy Napier needs a signature win. Hugh Freeze needs a signature win. He's back in the SEC. He ain't in Ole Miss. He's at Auburn. And the Auburn faithful going into the game was, what we're going to do with the offense? What we're going to do with the offense? Can the defense stop them? Next thing you know, with the number 1 team in the country, you had them nervous as all get out. They could say whatever they want in Athens. They was nervous. But the difference in winning and losing is the ability to close. Can you finish a game? Brock Bowers said, look, if they give me one-on-one coverage, I'm going to run that 10-yard basic, and I'm going to break a couple of tackles. We're going to get on the bus. We're going to go home. Because even though it was time left on the clock, he just sucked all the life out of the stadium, all the life out of the players. But you said it, Rob. When you think about, guys that come back, guys that want to play in the SEC, guys that want to play college football, it is a grind. It is a grind. And Lane Kiffin said it the best. When he first got to Tennessee, he said, football never stops. Like, wait a minute. Because at USC, the Trojans, I'm saying, when football season's over, they got other stuff to do. You know, they on the walk. They out there walking with the stars. They in Los Angeles trying to go to the Lakers game. And with college football at its finest, it's Deion Sanders and what he's doing in Colorado. It's what teams that's undefeated right now. It's Maryland playing Ohio State, both of them coming in undefeated. It's the and who's the quarterback for Maryland? That would be Tua's little brother who started off at Alabama. Now it's over there. So I think that for me, what I like that's why I say I'm a college football player fan first, because it's the players we intrigued by. Then you start talking about the coaches, the teams, the traditions. But I think that what we are addicted by it though. At this point, Rob, people say, "Man, how should I go about college football?" I say, "Don't leave it alone if you don't want to get addicted." Because, like you say, Rob, every time we come on here, you're giving us a story of this player, this coach, where they from, something you did, how many times you've been to Mississippi State or Texas A&M. Because even though we know you rooting for that burnt orange and blue on Saturday. Everybody knows that. But it took you going to Texas A&M and saying, "Dang, man, they got a nice tradition." Mississippi State, they got a nice tradition. Yeah. And I think that now you look at where college football is going. Yes, came but one team winning. We talked about January 15th, came but one team winning. It's only 4 or 5 active coaches right now that even have a national championship, and 3 of them in the same division. When you think about Kirby, Nick Saban, and Jimbo, then you got Mac Browne and obviously Dabo, which means 99%, 99.5% of these coaches ain't gonna ever win it, and they show up every single year, in recruiting, trying to get it done, because it's the opportunity to put yourself. TCU had an outlier year last year. It may never happen again, but TCU said, "We finally made it to the big time." Mm-hmm. Okay, now we got to hear about this big bad SEC. Just like in the NCAA tournament, you had 3 non-blue bloods in the Final Four. Who won it? UConn, the blue blood. And I think, and while I appreciate the pageantry of what goes on when you think about college football, it's the games. It's the where were you moment when this happened. Did you see it happen in real time? Or I don't know if you be on Twitter, Rob, when the games be going on and all of a sudden something to flash across the Twitter sphere, you'll go, "What just happened? Man, did you see that?" So it's that did you see it moments. Yeah. Who's going to be the next great this, next great that. But, hey, Shadur Sanders, when he said, "I'm a Sanders, I don't feel pressure," well, if you know who his daddy is, which the whole world does, he don't. Yeah. His brother doesn't either. So I'm just – will I be watching my Bravos? Yes, because I think that this is the first time, Rob, in a long time that neither the Yankees, the Red Sox, or the Dodgers are in the playoffs. That's how competitive baseball has gotten when those 3, prestigious franchises ain't even make the playoffs. But shout out to my Bravo. Shout out to Ron Acuna Jr., 41 and 73. God. Come on, man. Stop playing with this young man. He 41 and 73. Barry Bonds tweeted at this man, "Congratulations." Barry Bonds, who a baseball writer. Wow. Barry Bonds don't go into the Hall of Fame. Just throw it away. If Barry Bonds is not a baseball Hall of Fame, I get it. Throw it away. But I'll be watching a lot of college football this week. Just glancing at this game and that game, because Deion Sanders has made the whole world pay attention to another part of the country, which is hard to do. Once you get past Texas, our entry kind of goes a little kind of like sinks a little bit. He goes, "Hey man, if we got the late game, take you an Ambien or whatever you got, drink you something or do something, because you don't have to stop and watch what them boys do." And they're more intriguing when they lose than when they win, because even when they lose, it don't feel like unless it's Oregon. Because Caleb Williams, USC, they better be lucky they got the Heisman front runner, because they would have lost that game last week had it not been for Caleb Williams and bailing them boys out because the field goal kicker missed the field goal. But Shadur Sanders, I think if he comes back for 2024, he will be the number 1 overall pick in 2025.
He is he's tough as nails. And you're right. And I know people like Charles Kelly. Charles Kelly's the defensive coordinator out there at Colorado. Charles was a walk-on from Ozark, Alabama, which is down in the Wiregrass Bend, if you know your Alabama geography, the Wiregrass down in Ozark. But he walked on, played at Auburn in the late 80s, early 90s, and he's defensive coordinator at Colorado. He'd been with Alabama last year. He'd been at Florida State. He's got a great resume. And I know people that know him very well, and they said, you know what? He goes, Deion Sanders has always treated me very well. And these are people that I have a lot of respect for. There's no way a guy like Charles Kelly goes out there and works for someone. It's not good. I don't know Deion. I mean, but I've watched his career. He was NIL when we were in college, man. You weren't even, I remember playing them. 85. He was a freshman, North Fort Myers, Florida, in the Auburn game. And, Bo Jackson ran – Bo Jackson ran 2 through, and a lot of people remember him. But I saw that kid as a freshman, saw him again in 88 make a diving interception to beat Auburn 13-7 in the Sugar Bowl. Had Auburn not lost 7-6 to LSU, it's likely Auburn would have been playing Notre Dame for the national championship. But what I remember most is walking around in the French Quarter at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, pissed off that Auburn had lost. And every time a Florida State fan would come up and go, excuse me, sir, can you tell me what time it is? And now you look at your watch and they go, prime time. And they go, guess my, but that's the fun of college football. You're right. And I know I hate that we only got about 30 minutes with you today, because love having when you roll in again. It's always like Austin City Limits, the Grand Ole Opry. We just keep bringing the band on up here and getting this thing going. But I like what you said. Here it is, Winthrop in Dothan, Alabama. What is missing in Florida football? Well, I'll tell you what isn't missing is interest, because Buddy Martin, Allie, Franz Beard, there's a lot of interest. The road record's not good. Home record's, wonderful, but you played. Get your take on it.
The one thing that is missing in Florida football, Winthrop in Dothan, Alabama, is execution. I think sometimes when people go, who is Florida? Look at what they did against Tennessee. Look what they didn't do, against Charlotte. Look what they didn't do against Kentucky. It's execution, and that's the difference in winning and losing, or just playing well. Florida, what made Kentucky bad is not just the loss; it's how you lost. They out-Floridaed you. They ran the ball on offense. We couldn't run the ball on offense. They stopped the run on defense. We couldn't stop the run. And yes, it was one guy, but they said, hey, how much sweeter is it going to be that we got a former Florida quarterback in Larry? He's over here starting. He ain't even going to throw the ball. We're going to run the ball. And I think when it comes to it, yes, Billy Napier is going to be calling the plays. Yes, Rob Sale is the assistant offensive coordinator and offensive line coach. Execution. I will say this, and I say this every time when it comes to Florida football. It is not a coach's job to put a governor on what they do on Saturdays. Let them go. Call plays. Rob, because you know what you're looking at when you're watching Auburn. It's not what they running, it's what they calling in the down the situation. If it's 3rd and 6, don't give me all 5-yard hitch routes and hope they break a tackle, because that's safety, or that corner gonna come up and tackle them. Now it's 4th and 1. Give me a chance to show off my skill set. I put in all this work Monday through Friday. It's not your job to hold me back. If I'm not built for the moment, it will show. If I'm not built for but the hardest thing to explain is why we run all these plays Monday through Friday, and then we kind of like ease into it on Saturday. That's the part with Florida is this. If Billy Napier is going to pay somebody to have offensive coordinator next to their name, but he's going to call plays, you better call him. Because, yes, he came from the Sun Belt and was able to do a bunch of things, but you can speak to this, Rob, just as good as me. There is no lack of talent and gifts and abilities in the SEC. Anybody can beat you. I don't care who that person is. And I think for Florida, it's execution. And to me, it's buy-in. You got to buy in, because I might not like the play call, but if I'm bought in, I'm going to execute it. But when I'm not bought in and the play call comes in, look at the body language. The one thing they should show more in sports is body language. It's like this. If Rob Browne is my head coach and he gives me a play, he's looking at how I receive what he just gave me. Now, if I'm like this and I go out there and run it, he feels good about it. But he's saying, look at Ben's body language. But guess who else is looking at me? Them other 10 guys. Guess who else is looking at me? Those guys on the sideline. Guess who else is looking at me? The fans. So I'm thinking it's execution and buy-in, because the one thing you don't question at Georgia and Alabama and Texas and Ohio State is buy-in. Whatever them coaches say, they believe it. They don't got to like it. They don't got to, agree with it. What the coach say? Let's do that. And the more Florida does that, the better they're going to be, because it can't be wait till 2024 guys get in. They're going to be freshmen. They got to learn how to get used to Florida, get used to college football. So to me, execution and buy-in, because you can't keep switching guys. If he the OC, let him be the OC. Don't let it be like the NFL. Oh, I don't like him. Get rid of him, because he's built a rapport with the players. He's built some respect and trust with the players. But I don't want to. And to those people that be on Fridays and Saturdays, Rob, I'll do like something on my phone and I'll put it out. This thing gets more views than when I be on the radio, only because fans be thinking I be an apologist. No, as my daddy would say, son, if it's 1,000 different ways to look at it, pick the most productive way. Because I can come on there and get frustrated. I can come, but because I'm former Florida Gator, it's gonna be seen. Oh, Ben's panicking. So I usually say, hey, the hardest thing to build in life is the hardest thing to build in anything else. That's culture. That's if I got a business, I got to build a culture. With my family, I got to build a culture. With my spouse, I got to build a culture. So when it comes to Florida, Harbaugh has won the Big Ten the last 2 years in a row. He's been in Michigan about 9-10 years. Now, what if they would have thrown the towel the first 5? Yeah. It takes time. He's beat Ohio State twice in about 10 years, and now he's the best thing since sliced bread. But he said, hey, man, it's going to take me a little while to build this thing back, because Michigan ain't won a national championship in a long time. They've always been nationally relevant. So for me, execution, buy-in, that execution and buy-in wins more games than talent ever will, because I don't know who the young man was at Alabama that gave the best answer I've ever heard from, can he take hard coaching? He was like, yeah, I can take it, because I'm listening to what he's saying. I'm not feeling what he's saying. And if you play at Alabama, if you can't take hard anything, that is not the school for you.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I went to Christian Brothers High School, the LaSallian brothers, and the lay teachers as well. They were tough as nails. Russell Reed, my freshman homeroom teacher and history teacher, is still the last 16 letterman in Ole Miss history. As he would say, football, basketball, baseball, track and field, cat. Got that? And boy, you know what? He expected a lot out of you, and he got your best. And if you messed up, he let you know. He was tough as nail. Love that, man. Those are the only teachers and people that I care about, are the people that were tough on me and were relentless. And I love this. Jimi Hendrix, I love it, in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. He was in the 101st Airborne, Big Ben. You know that, don't you? Because my brother-in-law, Kurt, who was in the Marine Corps 26 years, lives up in Clarksville. He moved up there from Collierville after he got out of the Marine Corps, and Max and Ann, my mother-in-law. So they're all up in Clarksville, home of Fort Campbell. Ben, do you have any eligibility? Can you see this at the bottom of your screen?
I see Jimi Hendrix in Fort.
What is the essential?
Listen, Jimmy, if I did, let me tell you something. The only way I would go back out there, you got to get a whole bunch of has-beens that's my age. They got that, but they got to have what I had. They got to have kids. They got to pay bills. They got to pay taxes. They got to have not good knees. And if you put all of us out there for one play now, and we got to agree on the play, if they say, hey, Ben, we're going to throw you the ball, I got one question. Who's covering me? Because if you say Junior Rose Green, I'm not dealing with that. I'm not dealing with that, because Junior still got one big hit with him, right? Junior Rose Green gonna hit me like I'm Reggie Brown. No, Jimmy, I will say this. While I appreciate the kind words, the greatest thing I was ever told was, Ben, when you are a has-been, that's the greatest thing you could ever be called. Because that meant at one point you was one of them ones out there. And I appreciate what I'm seeing. My nephew, I got a nephew that'll be 21 this year. He's in college. He's a junior. I grabbed him one time when he's small. I grabbed him, I kind of felt this strength, so I had to hit him with the uncle. Boy, you don't be blowing up at me, because at the same time, Rob, my son is 14. My nephew is 12. Gonna be 30. They're at that age to where not only do they want to play me, they want to beat me. Like every time they see me, it's hey, daddy, let's do it. But to me, what I appreciate is when I see Brandon Spikes, great Florida line, one of the greatest linebacker not named Wilbur Marshall. He's back in Florida getting his degree. He's going to all these Gator events. And people are saying, I didn't know Brandon Spikes was like that. I said, because he didn't have time to show you when he was there. He was the one you coming to see. Brandon Spikes getting a chance to feel the love of Gator Nation. And mind you, he's showing up at events. He's not getting paid for them. He's showing up on his own dime, because what he's getting to do, he gets to say thank you. Because as a former player, the reason why I do 84 Reasons on the Florida NIL platform, Florida Victorious, it's not because of no money. Yeah. I want to be able to have direct contact with the current crop of players to let them know, hey, regardless of what you see, regardless of what you feel, regardless of what you hear, you doing it. It can't be if I won the game. No, it's going to be a winner and a loser. The only place you can tie in football is the NFL, Donovan McNabb. You can tie in the NFL. They're not going 7 and 8 quarters. But sometimes I got to let them know, stop letting the scoreboard dictate how you work, how you look. You wanted to, if you at Auburn, you at one of the most prestigious universities in the country. Don't give me that, well, we ain't won a national championship. So I saw a picture this weekend. I saw Frank Thomas. I saw Cam Newton. I saw Charles Barkley. Know what I said? Where Bo at? Because
Suni Lee was in there, the gymnast. She's replaced Bo.
I think sometimes, Rob, we forget, man, we are looking at the best in the world. In college, that's the best there is to offer. So when we go, oh, they need to play better. No, they going up against guys just as equally as gifted and talented as them. I tell you what.
Look who that is. Look who I'm with.
There it is.
I'm with Charles Barkley. I was at the tailgate last Saturday.
I heard Charles Barkley is one of the most likable people you ever met. When you in front of him, Charles Barkley is what everybody wants to be. Charles Barkley is paid to be himself. But guess what? He's a top 50 player all time. It ain't like he won MVP. There it is. Look at Cam.
That's Cam, and that's Suni Lee, the gold medal gymnast, and Charles Barkley and Frank Thomas. And where's Bo? But I tell you who we did get. Audrey and I got to talk with Saturday after everything. You know how it is after everybody's left and just a few people still coming out of the locker room. And there he was, Carnell Williams, Cadillac. And we got to visit, with him for about 10 minutes. And, I just said, I said, Cadillac, I hope you know how much Auburn people appreciate what you did last year, holding a line in. He was a rock of Gibraltar, standing there when chaos going on around him. And Audrey looked at him and she goes, you know what? You were right. They just need to be loved on. He said, that's right. He's tough as nails. He still looks like he could play. And I think he could.
Cadillac, I had a cup of coffee with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cadillac was still on the team. And when you play against guys, you don't get a chance to really tell them. So one time we on the bus doing something during training camp. We did training camp in Orlando, in Kissimmee at Celebrate. I hated it. You hear like Disney music playing over the loudspeaker in the whole time. I heard every Disney song. I'm sitting next to Cadillac on the bus. We going somewhere. And I just look at him. He like, what you staring at me for? And I said, you him. Like when people mention the greatest, I think that's something that we take for granted. Everybody's not the great. Calvin Johnson is the greatest. Bo Jackson is the greatest. Cam Newton is the greatest. I said, Cadillac, they use your highlight film. When they walk in the running back's house, they say, you want to look like this? Oh my, they probably won't. But I said, dude, they still using you to recruit. I said, your nickname is recognized nationally. That's Cadillac. Most people don't even know your real name. That's why I appreciate the fact that I shared the same field with these guys, to be able to say, when we meet each other, every time I see Ronnie Browne, I said, boy, when I met you, you had no hair on your face. You was one that you had to play fullback in the Florida-Georgia High School All-Star game. And you know what he did when they told him he had to play fullback? He stuck his hand in the dirt and blocked. He didn't say a word. That is the type of people that I get to say I played. When every time I said, I said, Ronnie, what was it like being the number 2 overall pick? He said, man, every time I think about what is that phone call? Hey, this Ronnie? Yes. We gonna draft you number 2 overall to the Miami Dolphins. Stop playing with me. No. So listen, my podcast I have, Rob, for NIL with Florida is 84 Reasons. My podcast that I'm gonna be on 2 of them. One is gonna be called Overcomers, where your story is your trademark. Your story is your trademark. That's a friend of mine that I'm doing it with. Mine is gonna be called Only One Dash. That means only one life, because I want to be able to sit down with whoever I want. I want a passerby to meet me, and I say, hey, you want to come on my podcast? And they're going to say, you want to interview me? I go, yeah. My grandma told me a long time ago, the key to life is the people that's walking in it. The key to life is the people that walking in. Like, they got all the answers. And what it does, Rob, is I get to say, hey, right now I get to interview Rob Browne. I say, every time I talk to friends, I say, friends, what is it about Rob Browne? He say he knows it's football. Because friends will give you something historic.
Friends is unbelievable. Both of y'all, the whole Gator cabal is what I call y'all. I talked to Franz yesterday. I mean, the Dos Equis beer guy, get out of here. It's Franz Beard and Frank Duffy, the 2 most interesting men in the world. And Ben, you are the right reverend. I mean, no disrespect to Reggie White, who was the supreme badass. I mean, I remember him from Chattanooga, Red Bank. So I still remember SEC Sports Journal in 1980 when it was announced he was going to Tennessee. I mean, you knew he was a man, and he played for the Memphis Showboats. And that's Jimmy Sexton, legendary sports agent. I think they were suite mates or whatever in the athletic dorm at UT. And Kyle Rote Jr. has been on the show with us, who turned pro in soccer at 16. His father was all pro with the Giants. And he swims with us over there at the Y. Kyle Rote Jr., he's like, in his 70s, an incredible athlete. I mean, just 73, and he's still just knocking it out. And I said, I remember when you spoke when I was in 3rd grade to my sports banquet at PDS, and he goes, how in the hell does anyone remember? I go, my dad's right. I'm an idiot savant. I'll admit it, but he gave a great speech about surrounding yourself with great people. And that's the key. And Ben, you're right. You got to give them time. I mean, I've got clients. You either have a buy and hold strategy or you're a day trader. Most day traders lose their ass and they lose their mind. The buy and holders, a guy like Warren Buffett. Now, Paul Tudor Jones, he doesn't like to do that. He doesn't like to lose money. But Billy Napier, I'll say it. I don't care what anybody's saying. It's going to work out. Like David in Memphis, I haven't top 5 recruiting class. Yeah. I'm going to bring George in here with us.
Rob, it's like it, Rob. At the end of the day, if you're my financial advisor, right? If you're my financial advisor, you know what Mama used to say? I used to say, Mama, I got to get a financial advisor. I used to say, what am I supposed to do? She'll say, listen to them. What? Listen to them. And I said, and you know what my academic advisor told me? I mean, my financial advisor told me, stop listening to me and hear me. And I said, why? They said, because listening is passive, hearing is active. And once I learned how to hear them, we had a better relationship. And when I look back on my financial career, it's not that I got all the money, but I still have money to be able to take care of me and mine. And I give that all to my financial people, because at the end of the day, I'm not counting nobody's pockets. There are people that made way more money than me, but I'm a country boy. I still get my T-shirts from Walmart. I still get my hats on sale, and I still eat ramen noodles with Vienna sausages. Deal with it. You don't got to like it. That's my household though. That's my house. But
look, no, you know what?
I
love that. That's what I love about you, because here's the deal: you made a lot of money, and you still are successful, but you're very humble, self-deprecating. We advise our clients, and I've been doing it for over 32 years. It's amazing, but we're still batting 1,000 on this one. We've never had a family with 50, 75, $100 million ever once, because we wouldn't let them. We would say, no, don't do it. Give 10 or $20 million to an 18 or 19-year-old child. They put it in incentive-based trust or age-banded trust. And you know what that's like. Like you said, we were standing there the other day. at the tailgate with my friend Janet Bell, and her dad Sandy Bell has been a long time major donor for Auburn, self-made electrical engineering man, comes to every Auburn game just about, he and his wife. And you know what? One of the reasons Brian Harsin is no longer at Auburn, when they recognized Mr. Bell on the field before the LSU game last year, Brian Harsin didn't even come over and say, hey, thank you. We appreciate that. I reminded Mr. Bell of that the other day, and he said, he let Harsin know this is why you're going to be finding a new job. I mean, it just helps to thank people. They don't have to give. You know what you can do? You know someone that's got a lot of money, and George, you would agree with this. Go up and tell them thank you, because they don't have to give the money to do these things. Ben, I guarantee you, I can bet you fund a lot of things and you contribute out of the goodness of your heart. George, same thing. We all know people that do it. Tell them thank you. Nobody was put on this earth that has a lot of money just to give it all away. As Charles Barkley, though, said in the Tiger Tailgate pregame show the other day, he goes, my goal in life is to give away most of my money. But now that I got 2 grandchildren, they were like going, don't give it all away. But he loves to help people. You seen the thing on social media? Shaq O'Neal out there in the store. Hey, go ask your mama, you have a bike? He goes, go ask your mama if I can get you a bike. I mean, he's a Charles Barkley. I mean, he was that way in college. He ain't changed any. George Plaster, we got Ben Troupe on here, Gator All-American, 5 years in the NFL, Braves fan. George, I know you got to get – George is good friends with Jeff Francoeur. And we were in Atlanta, George, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday visiting after we were in Auburn before we came back up to Memphis. Heard Jeff Francoeur on the radio. But, hey, man, we're talking college football. We're talking building a program. Jump into this melee of fun.
Well, first of all, Ben, I hope the hat is for real. I'll be at game 1 tomorrow. And when I wear it, it is for real.
Listen, let me tell you something. To the fake Tampa Bay Rays fans that ain't never been a Rays fan for real, they ain't even. I apologize. Oh, and if you're a Red Sox, Yankees, and Dodgers fan, make sure you get a real up close look. This is the last time y'all, all 3 of them are not going to be in the playoffs. But my Bravos better take care of business with them Phillies. I know Mr. Harper got the nicest hair in baseball. He got to go.
Well, they're going to have their hands full with Philly. Philly is not at all intimidated by the Braves and their offense. And I'm worried about it. I think this is going to be a real dogfight. I think it's going to go 5. I think it's going to be a great series, but I'm worried about it. The Braves pitching scares me.
No, anytime you play a team that's in your division that scratched and clawed, that had to hear about you the whole season with everything the Braves did historically, they won't. And the Phils are the only one that's on the outside. I mean, the Nationals done won one. Obviously, the Braves done won one. I mean, the Mets, they gonna have some great pitching. They're not gonna win it. I think the Phils, they trying to get some return on this investment when a guy like Bryce Harper. But I do agree, it's not gonna be no walk in the park. The Phillies don't lack talent. It's just been they've been trying to scratch and claw to try to every year in the playoffs. But I don't think people give Snit and Alex Anthopoulos enough credit, because I don't know how you guys felt about it. That 2 pairing, when it happened 5 years ago, I go, oh, the Braves just giving up. They're going to make Snit the manager, but it's worked. And I hope that Ronald Acuna Jr. does win, MVP. I think the dude is as good as he want to be. And I think Matt Olson has walked out of that shadow of that guy that will go unnamed. That used to be the pitcher for the Braves, the first baseman. I like this Braves team. I just hope that the culture of the Braves gonna have to have a big factor in this series, because I do agree Philly is dangerous, and if you give them any life, you saying it go 5. The last thing I want to see is my Braves go out early, man, because that would be very, very disappointing with the series they just had.
Yeah. Hold these thoughts, guys. We're going to take a quick break. Ben, stay on with us if you can. I know you're on a tight schedule this morning, but no, Ben being from Swainsboro, Georgia, hardcore Braves. We got Braves country and Cardinals nation. We're kind of, those are the bookends of the Sidelines audience. Of course, with the interwebs, I love to still call it the interwebs. We've got listeners in viewers all over the country, like Casey Goodjohn sitting in a deer stand bow season out in Johnson County, Texas. We met him down at Orange Beach a couple of weeks ago. 20-year United States Marine. Thanks for your service. Great guy. Loves outdoors, hunting and fishing. Got a daughter at Texas A&M. So he's fired up about this weekend. Let's take this quick break. Come right back, and we're going to have one hell of a discussion about college football.
Hey y'all, it's Ainsley from Hewlett & Dunn, just coming to let you know about our new collection of boots. It's going to be our dress boots. They're the Horsepower collection, and they're genuine exotic leathers and really comfortable. Comes in all different sizes and patterns, so come check them out.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
All right, Rob Browne back here with you. We've got George Plaster with us right now. And George, Casey Goodjohn texted me again. He's sitting in a deer stand in Johnson County, Texas, listening. Now, he, of course, is a lifelong Aggie, which means because he's watching sidelines live from the deer stand, he gets some of this. He gets a little bit of the fight song there on a beautiful Friday morning, and can't imagine how much fun that would be to be sitting in a deer stand out somewhere in Texas and listening. And Ben had to go. He said he could be on for about 30 minutes this morning, but love having you on here, George, and love watching your show. And you got a really good producer there that's on the set with you. I like those attorneys. I like that attorney's office you were doing if I'm in Nashville the other day. You're everywhere. But
well, we try to be.
No, you are. And your production, your commercials and all are fantastic. I don't know who's doing them, but we're in the process of bringing somebody on board that's going to be doing that. But it looks like a television show when you're on the air. And he says, whoop. That's what Casey Goodjohn just said to us. And one other bit of trivia here. He said, if Reveille the dog, who's escorted 24/7 by a member of the Corps of Cadets, ever barks in class because the dog goes to class with one of the cadets, that class is canceled. I could have used Reveille in class a few times when I didn't know what I was studying. How about it, George?
So I heard you earlier say that Billy Napier's going to make it at Florida.
I do think he will.
Not if he loses tomorrow to Vandy. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think Gator Nation, look, Billy Napier's a good football coach. I don't know if he's the right fit at Florida. Um, you've got them all over the map. They looked brilliant in their win against Tennessee. They looked crappy a week ago in Lexington. And that's a program that Florida believes they're better than. And over a 20-year period, for the most part, they have been. But Kentucky now is for real. Vandy is awful. And if somehow that happened tomorrow, he will not be the coach at Florida next year.
I would agree with that, but I just look at the mess that Dan Mullen left, and I think you ought to give him 3-4 years. And I say that because it's like in the investment world, if you've got a company you really like and you look out long term and you think, okay, they're going to make a lot of money. Their PE, their multiple and all, it is what it is now, but you got to look. The stock market is nothing more, nothing less than a discount mechanism. You got to look out in the future to Florida. If you look at this top 5 recruiting class that he's going to bring in, they're bringing in players. Now, a couple of things that do bother me. I think he's got more support personnel than he does players on the team. And where's the rock star quarterback? I mean, but those rumors about Jaden Rashada, the kid out of California, Pittsburgh, California, getting 12, 13 million, that's insane. That is insanity. Now, I think he's at Arizona State starting. But I think Florida, they need to get back to their roots. Billy Napier's a quiet guy. Urban Meyer is fairly quiet. But I look at the record, 41 wins in 4 years at Louisiana for Napier. But you're right. You can't go on the road and get, 33-14. That was a terrible loss.
It's worse than the score.
Yeah, I know. 280 yards for Ray Davis. You got and I don't mean, I will say this. Yeah, you lose tomorrow to Vanderbilt, anything's on the table, but I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either.
And I don't understand Vandy. Talk about them. I had better expectations for Clark Lee than in year 3 they're in this mess.
I think the belief going into the year was that athletically, that with 2 years of recruiting classes, that they would be better. He took over what truly was a mid-level Ohio Valley Conference team. I don't know what Derek Mason and his staff were doing in the last 2 years. They weren't recruiting Division I players. So Clark walked into a mess. A year ago, expectations ramped up a little bit when he was able to go to Kentucky and then rip into Florida in Nashville, even with Anthony Richardson. That game, Vandy dominated that game. And I remember walking out of there going, wow, there's some problems at Florida. First of all, I agree with you about how long Billy Napier, the leash should be. But we're living in a world now where patience doesn't seem to be much of a virtue. And, at this point, if you lose to Vandy, he's in big trouble. But back on Vandy, they're not good at much of anything right now, other than a couple of wide receivers and a punter. I don't understand what it is they're doing in certain situations. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Their offensive line is god-awful. Offensive lines are asked to do one of two things or both: be proficient at run blocking or be proficient at pass blocking. And if you're lucky, they're good at both. Vandy's group isn't good at either one. And so as an offensive coordinator, you've got to know going in, okay, the plan has to be to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands quick. How do you do that? You do it with wide receiver screens. You try to catch teams when they're blitzing and screen them. And I don't see Vandy doing any of that. So not only does their talent level not look like I thought it would by year 3, but I think Clark's got some issues on his coaching staff. I don't think it's a particularly strong staff. When I watch them, I don't say to myself, they lack talent, but that's a really smart football team. What I see right now is a team that lacks talent and also plays dumb football. And I think that's a bad combination.
Yeah, and wasn't a lot of talk about bringing Barton Simmons in, who went to MBA, I think, with Clark Lee, and MBA, talking to a friend of mine whose son is a senior there this year, the Gentleman's Scholar. They've got a great tradition there. I guess their sister school would be Harpeth Hall on the Harpeth River, or as they would call in the upper Midwest, a creek, Harpeth Creek. Which sounds better, the Harpeth River or Harpeth Creek? But I will say this, it ain't working out like I thought it would, because I thought Barton Simmons would do a better job of recruiting. And Chris Lee was on with us earlier this week, Vandy Rivals in the Southeastern 14. And I love what he said, because I got a lot of family members that are Vanderbilt graduates. And so I say this, and I'd say it even if I didn't. Tim Corbin got the hell out of the building where football and all the other sports were. He goes, he got away from that culture. And I'm sorry to say this, but I'm going to say it. When I wake up in the morning, I say it's going to be a great day, 5 Alive. And I get so, especially if it's weather's nasty, because I know most people are going to roll back over, hit the snooze button. Think of Woody Harrelson, Roy Munson hitting the snooze button in Kingpin with that hook, they're going to just lay there. Nothing ever gets done laying on your back, sleeping. But Tim Corbin got away from that. Look what he's done. Vanderbilt's got to decide, hey, we want to be great in football. They were until the early 50s. I mean, they have a all-time, they're tied with Auburn. Of course, they didn't play but 14 times from 1955 to 2008. Auburn won every one of them. Then Auburn lost in 2008 and in 2012. But they should demand greatness. You're a Vanderbilt alumnus. My grandfather went to law school there. His brother went to law school there. My cousin Helen went to, so many friends of mine. Either they, put out or get out, George. And I think Clark Lee, I think he's a great defensive coach, but that staff, I thought they were young and could connect. That doesn't matter. They've got to be good and can connect. It doesn't matter what age they are.
Well, it feels like they're going to go 2-10, maybe 3-9 if they find somebody 1 week that's not ready. One way or the other, that's going to be their record unless they totally shock me. I think at the end of the season, he's going to have to take a long, hard look at his staff. I think he needs a better offensive coordinator. I'm not impressed at all with what they're doing on the offensive side. As I mentioned earlier, they're not very good at much of anything right now, and this has become a real downer. And you'll see it next week when they play Georgia, and Georgia has 85% of that stadium. The reality will set in that this is a fan base that is just so beaten down and tired of all this that you've got a lot of them just saying, screw it.
I think Chris said that there were maybe 8,000 or 10,000 Vandy fans, in that area left. He said there's just with football. But what's more frustrating is how you let that happen in basketball. Bryce Drew was the coach for the first ever losing season at Memorial Gymnasium. You're a Nashvilleian. I'm a Memphian. The social thing to do in Memphis, go to Memphis Tiger basketball games, be seen, and just think about all the business deals that are done there. Same thing at Vanderbilt. And they slipped and they just can't get back. They fell in the pool and they can't get out. And I just don't, there's so much money in Nashville. There's so much money but money alone can't solve the problem. If it could, Texas A&M with a $19 billion endowment, Texas with $42 billion. It doesn't hurt having the oil and, and gas rights, but they do better. You got to have the right people.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens at the end of the year, because I think this is going to be a really critical time for Clark. to figure out, okay, where is this going? Because to me, when you look around the country at programs that in a year have slipped huge, Baylor, until they found Central Florida, half asleep, was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple more, and suddenly I can't think of the ones that I've had on the tip of my tongue. But Vandy's one of those that's taken a huge step backwards. And, he's going to have to, at the end of the year, figure out why. He's going to have to make some changes on that staff. He's just going to have to.
Well, I like his Chris here. Everybody says the administration is behind the Vandy program. I question their commitment. Again, you've got to have people in there that aren't worried about hurting people's feelings. The best board meetings you'll ever see, and I saw this as a TV reporter out at Columbus in Fort Benning when I covered it for Channel 3, News 3 on your side, WRBL, TV3, Columbus. Anyway, I spent a lot of time out there, and I'll never forget these meetings. You do something, a story about Ranger School or Ranger Battalion. You know how they, those big wooden spools that you put cable on for like phones and power lines? They turn them upside down and make tables out of them. So the commanding officer, it might be a captain or a battalion commander or colonel, will come up there and say, "Hooah, let's get everybody together. Here's the mission." Bam, bam, bam. Everybody's standing around that table. Any questions? All right, let's do it. Done. You have a board meeting. This is what happens in colleges. Board of trustees can have, board of regents, whatever. Nice big office, big, Western Sky collection, leather chairs and couches, food, drinks. You're there for 2 or 3 hours, a bunch of people blowing hot air, making empty promises, and there's no follow through. And then it comes down to a couple of guys that have more money than sense that tend to make these decisions. How does it work at Vandy? I'm just curious. They've got lawyers, doctors. I mean, how strong? What I would be doing is I'd be looking at the engineering school. Let's be honest. That's where your smartest people come from. Your problem solving.
Let's go where you're going. I don't pretend to know what goes on in their board of trust. I don't travel in the same economic circles. I say that John Ingram, who, I laughingly have called the team owner and is a good friend, man, he's put his money where his mouth is. He's also the owner of the MLS soccer franchise here. I know he wants it. Do I think that their board of trust gives two hoots what goes on in Vanderbilt football? I really don't. I've never had any reason to believe that there's any groundswell of that, partly because most of their board of trust doesn't live here. They have no idea what goes on and the frustration that the ones who have stuck it out. Listen, the ones that have stuck it out, God bless them. I mean, how many schools would go through 50 years of losing football and have a great fan base? Yeah. This is a beaten down deal. I first of all, I don't know this Chancellor Dearmeyer. I've met him one time. Yeah. He at least had the commitment to give them whatever it is, $300 million to begin the process of starting to try to compete. That's probably little more than a deck chair off the Queen Mary, but it's at least a start. But as I've told you before on this show, they are so far behind in those areas. It's a lot of catch up.
Well, it is frustrating. I like Socrates in Lebanon, Tennessee. George is as honest as it gets about what really happens. I mean, you do know a lot about it, but again, I've been told this many times. If money alone can solve it, then it's not really a problem. I mean, it's something you can handle. But I just look around at Ken Capps is going to be on with us. We're going to do a round table here in hour number 2. Stay on if you can, George. He's a Football Writers Association of America, Texas grad. He's at the Texas State Fair. And in just a few minutes, I know they're going to be flying in the game ball, but he's also there if it can be fried, it can be served at the Texas State Fair. And Bo Carter will join us in a second. But
hey, you
it doesn't
tell
matter.
Bo I said hello. Man, I haven't talked to him in a long time. I'm not going to be able to stay on much past about 9. I got a crazy day.
Yeah,
but,
I got you.
Please tell Bo I said hello.
We'll do it. We will do it. And listen, George, you talk about what's going on at Florida. We talk about what's going on at Vanderbilt. Around you pick the league. It doesn't matter. In Alabama, this is how crazy people are. If Alabama goes out and loses tomorrow to Texas A&M, it will be like the stock market crashing in 1929. But keep things in perspective. There's a ton of talent there, and at any moment it could turn. There's always something lacking. Every program, you name me a program that doesn't have problems. And say hi to Bo real quick, George, because there's Bo. There's George Plaster up there above you.
What's going
on?
Hey,
George, loyal Commodore there, man.
How are you?
Good. So, Rob,
man,
George,
it's great to hear your voice and see you.
Hey, George, voice of Vanderbilt and voice of Tennessee's, Middle Tennessee sports. He still is. He's got
a
great show.
I've gotten old.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, listen, man. I will say this, and talking because they're at the Texas State Fair. We're going to talk a lot about Texas and OU. We're going to go all over the country in college football. George, the thing that gets me, and I was listening, to Watson Browne the other day. You've got some great people on your show talking about the Titans. Man, he really can break it down.
Oh,
and we mentioned it a minute ago. Ben talked about there's only 5 active coaches in America that have won a national championship. And 3 of them, has been said, are in one division of the toughest conference in America. You've got Jimbo Fisher, you've got Nick Saban, and then you've got Dabo Swinney, you've got Mac Brown at North Carolina, and Kirby Smart is in the East. Yeah, he is in the same 2 in the West, 1 in the East.
Vision.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, Ben had said all in the West. It's in 2 in the West, 1 in the East. Only 5 out of 133 in America. So that's really wild. Ben, look, George, I know you got to go. I hate that. I wish you could stay, but tell people how they can keep up with your great show. And before you go, let me just play this. I'm going to do it for you. This is my high school's fight song, Christian Brothers High School in Memphis. See if this sounds familiar. Now, let me just point this out. The oldest continuous high school band in America, the Christian Brothers High School Band, in 1871 is when it was founded. And listen to this band play the fight song. Now, does that sound familiar? No. Who got the song from who? I think that's a debatable topic. CBHS, Texas A&M, you decide. But anyway, George, let people know how they can keep up with you, because you got a great show and you have great guests and you've got an awesome team on your side.
Well, you're really nice to say that. Listen, Billy Derrick, young guy that's getting into this business, you brought up the commercials. He's the one doing all this stuff. Technically, I'm a technological nimrod. So when I sit there and tell you,
we all are.
Yeah, that our show, we do it live every day from 2 to about 4 p.m. And then when I start telling you to go to Facebook and Twitter and YouTube to watch it, and we've got it chronicled on, Apple and Spotify. I don't know what the hell any of that means. And so when he asks me that, it's hilarious when I can't really explain to somebody how to see. You're talking about teaching an old dog new tricks. Man.
It can be difficult, but I'm learning every day. And we found somebody who's a double knot spy who's helping us behind the scenes. And it's like all of a sudden we've cracked the Da Vinci Code.
Beautiful.
And we'll have a collaborative sharing of ideas over the way. I will talk to you about it. I've got some, because I want to build a network of all these shows together called, Southern Sports Jackpot Media.com or whatever. Drill down on the local coverage, like what Ken Capps does. Ken goes all over the country covering college football. He's an evangelist, okay? And I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing in college football, guys. George, I'm seeing a resurgence of the fans going, nobody, not even the adults, as Tony Barnhart says, can screw this up, but nobody's going to take away our game. Not a bunch of suits in New York City. I mean, they're not going to do it. But anyway, George, look forward to having you on next week. And you cover basketball. You cover it all, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
All right. We'll be ready for it. All right. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back for hour number 2. Ken Capps, Football Writers Association of America. Bo Carter put the Southwest Conference to sleep. Big 12 office now. National Football Foundation. Baseball Writers of America. Working on a new book about the Philadelphia Phillies. And as a Braves fan, George, Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Look at this.
Good to see it. There it is, world champ.
Yeah. Hey, Ben had on his Braves hat when we came in the first part of the show. Let's take a break. We'll be right back for HR-2. Coming up.
See you guys. Good talking to you.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4 City exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne.
Okay, Rob Browne back here with you. And look, when the Texas duo is on, it always has to happen. We have to play it for Ken out of Ken.
There we go. I hear it now. Yes. Thank you.
You remember the old days when older people, if they had a hearing, they had those ear horns. They would turn. sometimes during hunting season, after someone with a ported 10 gauge shoots over your head, and I know many a friend who has hearing on one side but not the other, but. Maybe an ear horn would help some of those guys. All right, guys. Texas State Fair is going on right now out there in Dallas. Kind of the eyes of America, the college football world, are on the Red River rivalry, Red River shootout, whatever you want to call it, in Dallas. How many straight is this for you, Ken?
Well, I go all the way back to 1978, my freshman year at the University of Texas. So
wow.
I don't.
Cow.
Yeah, every Saturday, Texas OU, been there. Wouldn't miss it for anything. And right now, I'm sitting in my Wrangler outside of the Get Teed Off at OU Golf Classic, which is the largest University of Texas golf tournament in the world. It has over 300 golfers. I'm looking here at just a sea of golf carts and orange golf clubs and orange shirts, and we're going to try something new on live World Wide Web and live radio. Well, I guess you can't see it on the radio, but here, but here at the golf tournament today, they're honoring all Longhorn military servicemen and women as well as veterans. So here in about 10 or 15 minutes, you may have heard a helicopter buzzing over my head. There is going to be a retired Golden Knight paratrooper jumping onto this golf course with the University of Texas flag and the U.S. flag. The man is a double amputee. He is just such an amazing American hero. And if I can do it, I'm gonna try to flip the camera around and get him when he's landing with those flags here on the golf course.
Well, I mean, Bo, and I'm cracking up, man. I'm looking at some of the stuff that Ken sent. Hey, during the parachute drop, I won't be able to hear you, so y'all commentate away, and I will join you again as soon as possible.
Right.
He goes, this is the 36th annual Get Teed Off at OU golf tournament. Like you said, has raised more than $2 million for scholarships for the University of Texas. And I tell you one thing, man, there was a note on here, Bo, please be ready to talk about the good old days of Texas and OU Friday, Commerce Street, people throwing couches and chairs out of the hotel windows. Sounds like a house party down at Panama City Beach when I was at Auburn. Get out of my hotel. Go away. I will call the police on you. Go away.
Ken was probably there from 78 to 81 when he was a student, 82. So,
oh yeah,
break the windows out at the Hilton Statler and who knows what. In fact, well, I think the first or second year I moved out here, Ken, in 86 or 87, they put in 500 police and the state troopers to keep order in the downtown Dallas area. But Rob, one of the real highlights, and this will be my 38th today, and Ken's missing, unfortunately, because he's doing his good job for Texas Scholarship. The annual media luncheon, which I think holds the national record for most margaritas consumed in a 3-hour period. So, a couple of writers have already done their stories and TV people, and they try to hold off the interviews after about 1:30 or 2 because people are not coherent after about
combat ineffective.
Right, exactly.
Great.
Well, Rob, what Bo's talking about, because I know he's been there, since downtown Dallas started out from a log cabin back in the 1840s. But back in the day, and this is even when I was in school, Commerce Street is one of the big drags in downtown Dallas. And back in those days, the Texas fans and the OU fans used to walk up opposite sides of the street, highly intoxicated, yelling everything you could think of at each other. And then there were these amazing hotels back then, the Baker Hotel, and just some real old Dallas hotels that all these rich Texas and OU donors would rent out these suites and of course have parties, so they didn't have to join into the fray. They could just look down and look at the fray. But then, yeah, I mean, I'm not kidding. I covered those stories. People would throw couches out the window. People would throw chairs out the window. And the last part of that story, what's so funny is the cops would arrest people. And so that Friday night, so tonight of Texas OU, well, in Saturday morning, if those people were still in jail, if you knew what you were doing, and Bo, you remember this, you would go down to the Lou Sterrett Dallas County Jail and try to buy the tickets off the people that were still in jail. I am not kidding.
Yeah.
They wanted to sell their tickets because they couldn't make bail, and so they wanted to sell their tickets to try to make bail. This is a true story.
That's right.
Well,
that's right.
I had fraternity brothers in college that used to give their blood plasma. They would sell it for drinking money. Hey, you do what you got to do. And those people today are very successful because they realized that you got to get out of your comfort zone to be really successful. All right. Big one this weekend, guys. I made a comment yesterday. The closer Texas and OU get to being part of the family, it's like a long engagement. When it was announced July 20th of 2021 at the Winfrey Hotel there in Hoover, I was there. And I remember it like it was yesterday. It's like the delayed entry when you join the Marine Corps. Oh, man, I can't wait, 11 months or 12 months in advance. The night before, you're like, holy cow.
Right. What have I gotten myself into?
Yeah, what have I gotten myself? So now Oklahoma and Texas, as they're getting closer to the SEC, all this smack talk from a lot of people going, oh, they can't handle the SEC. Really? Okay. And in fairness, we like to be fair on this show. I got to play this, guys. Can you hear it?
Boomer Sooner.
Yeah, got to have a little Boomer Sooner.
Half and half.
Oh, man. Now,
I won't tell you the word. I won't tell you the words that Texas fans sing to that song. This is a family show.
Or
yes, women and children, please. But what I love the most about it is this is what's so fun about college football. Not that they don't have fun in the pros, but every NFL player will tell you the same thing. In the pros, it's about a paycheck. And in college, tradition never graduates. That's what Doug Dickey or Haywood Harris or Bud Ford, one of the great SIDs, I think at Tennessee, said it. There's Doug Dickey or Haywood Harris. But either way, it's true. And by the way, at SEC Media Days, you don't often get to meet a living legend. Still a sports information director, Claude Felton of Georgia. And he's so revered and loved and respected. My advice to any of these 23-year-olds that are out there, and I've got kids that age, I love them. Do yourself a favor. Find time, if you can ever go meet with a Bo Carter, a Ken Capps, a Claude Felton, a David Housel, if Norm Carlson is still alive at Florida, Langston Rogers at Ole Miss. I mean, these guys, you ever wondered what it would have been like if you liked to play the guitar, if you could have hung out with Stevie Ray Vaughan?
Right.
Go hang out with these guys. Their stories and what they've seen is incredible. Robert Plant has all the money he'll ever need, but you know what he loves to do? Come to Nashville, where he has a house, hang out with Allison Krauss, and go down in the Mississippi Delta and sit on the front porch of shotgun houses, drinking out of a paper sack, learning how to play the blues. The land where Robert Johnson, Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters came from. Bobby Louder, when he won the Lifetime Achievement Award for Auburn, a friend of mine said, I've never seen him in all the years I've known him get emotional. He got very emotional. And when he won that award, he said, I just want to say that we all like to drink from the well, but always remember those who dug the well. That's what we're seeing this weekend. I mean, you get chills thinking about it because my dad, he used to play handball with a man named Buddy Leak from Memphis, CBHS, went out to Oklahoma in the 50s, played with Billy Vessels. Didn't Vessels win the Heisman Trophy?
He did.
And he got hurt. And Buddy was a freshman from Christian Brothers High School, came in and ran for 941 yards. And his son, Steve, who was a friend of mine who passed away about 15 years ago. Holy cow. Said when they were at the Waldorf in New York, when Billy Vessels was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, he said, a big reason for my success is when I got hurt, that guy right there, Buddy Leak, because he showed me that nobody is irreplaceable. And that and competition, keeps you going. But Buddy Leak passed away just 3 or 4 years ago. He had a website called Southern Fried Sooner. We have watched this rivalry, Barry Switzer. I mean, golly, Bud Wilkinson. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong or not. Jordan Colbert is listening right now, and Ann Camp Lee, and Ann's one of our sponsors, RumbleBoxingGym.com. And Jordan's dad played there with Steve Owen and played at Oklahoma. And I think he's listening right now. But you think about one of the most famous, iconic photographs in Oklahoma football fans. They have it in their offices. It's called 52 Backfield. Is that the one? And it's just, there's just certain photographs. But man, this is now, it's like, holy cow, it's almost wedding day. I mean, July 1st. It's like, we're all in the family. Those were the days. Edith, stifle yourself, but it's coming.
Well, I laugh. I wonder what Brent Yormack is thinking, who's the commissioner of the Big 12, because after saying at the beginning at Media Days this year that we're going to celebrate Texas and Oklahoma as they move. All he's been doing is smack talking, and there's now a saying down in Texas: "Embrace the hate." From all the schools that are now mad that Texas and Oklahoma are leaving. After at the very beginning they were like, "Okay, good riddance, see you later." But it's very ironic that not only are Texas and Oklahoma not only at the top of the Big 12 on their last year here, but they're probably going to meet again in the Big 12 championship game, no matter who wins tomorrow. And the rest of the Big 12 is going to be, the rest of the Big 12 is going to be watching on TV.
That actually happened about 4 or 5 years ago. First time they'd played outside Dallas since 1928 or whatever, too. So it's
right.
It's going to be
right.
And heck, look at it this way: they're just counting the TV money until the June 30th. So it'll all.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, Bo. Because I saw an article this week about the TV ratings for Big 12 schools, and Texas is number 1 and Oklahoma's number 2. So that giant sucking sound you hear is when those two schools leave the Big 12 and take those TV ratings with them over to the SEC. And again, I'm a Big 12 fan, man. I'm a born and bred Austin boy. I'm a born and bred Southwest Conference boy. But boy, it's sure been ugly around here the last few months. The way people have been talking about mostly Texas, but OU as well, saying good riddance. But now, I got to say this, Rob, and then we'll talk about the game. You know what's funny is all of these other Big 12 schools, they have all been lobbying Sarkisian and UT to put them on the schedule in the future as a non-conference game.
Money.
And these are people that absolutely despise Texas.
Yeah.
And it's like what the truth is, once Texas gets to the SEC, their strength of schedule doesn't need anybody from the Big 12 to play. And so I think it's going to be a little bit of reverse of everybody being so mean and ugly to Texas and Oklahoma on the way out. They're going to call and say, "Hey, do you have an opening 5 years down the road?" And there's going to be a big click on the phone.
Get that $1 million game guarantee. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah, really.
Well, you know what? I will say that the interest, college football, I think the Big 12 is so hungry now. And again, I don't know Bob Bowlesby. Both of y'all do. But what he did initially, rather than have a pity party, he reacted. He got sucker punched, that's what it was. And bam, he goes and gets UCF, BYU, Cincinnati, and Houston. And I know I was at the hotel in Auburn last week at the bar Friday night, and everybody in there, you know what they were watching? It was on every TV in there. BYU and Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, that's right.
It's like, here we are. But you know what? Damn. I think Barrett Sallee, don't know him, had him on the show once or twice, CBS Sports over in Atlanta. He put out a tweet the other day that said, "Fans, for the next 46 days straight, we will have an NFL or college football game on TV every night." Man, ain't life grand? Shout out to the widespread panic. But that's pretty cool, Bo.
Looks like the
parachute. He's getting ready for something. Hold on. Stand by. Is he coming in?
He's already down. He landed a little early. Here's the American flag being folded up.
That's good.
I got you. Wow.
He's been to the Lockheed Martin. Yeah. He's been to the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl and really got a standing ovation for like 10 minutes. It's great.
Wow.
Amazing.
And here's Dana, our jumper.
Wow. And he's a double
you're
amputee that landed.
Sidelines.live. Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your service.
Wow. That's, man. Thank you. That is cool. And he just jumped and brought the American flag in and the Texas state flag. That's
fantastic.
That is pretty cool.
Amazing.
I love that. Here we are. Now this is the golf tournament about to start out there There it is. There's that big Texas flag.
Don't move, guys.
Bevo.
They're playing the national anthem. Ken better come to attention.
Yes. Well, I mean, the bottom line is this is what we love about college football. When they do this, there's excitement in the NFL, but these rivalries, tradition, history, heroes, and it never changes. And, I'm sitting there looking at Ray Stevens in Round Rock, Texas. Horns are going to roll tomorrow. Round Rock, which is just above Austin, just a stone's throw away. But, the interest in college football, folks, I think this is really cool. As we lost there was a lot of people that tried to take college football away from us 3 years ago. And it wasn't that we didn't care about people's health and safety, but you need it. You got to have it mentally, competition. You can't lock your doors and go home and go broke safely and feel sorry for yourself. And I love this, the American flag. No lack of patriotism in the state of Texas. Now, normally, if we could, oh no, there's a cannon. Watch out, Ken.
Hey guys, I'm over here with the Texas Cowboys, the Silver Spurs that run Smokey the Cannon. You guys want to give a big hook 'em horns? You can do louder than that, guys.
Don't let them fire it at you.
Watch out.
All right. These guys are firing the shotgun start for the golf tournament, and of course, they're the ones that every time Texas scores, they are they're firing the cannon. So hopefully they'll be firing a lot of cannon shots tomorrow, right, guys?
Yeah, they did.
I love it. Hey, I feel like the David. Oh, watch out that barrel.
Thank y'all.
Get upwind, get downwind of them.
Hey, Ken and Bo, I feel a lot like David Letterman when he used to have Muji Bar and Syrajul. He would send them out all over the country, and they would go places. And he had Muji Bar and Syrajul in front of the Washington Monument, and they said, "We have been all over Washington. We learned about Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson invented the folding chair. Thank you, Mr. Jefferson." I love it.
Hey guys, did that look okay?
It looks great. That barrel, I just didn't want you to get blown in half by that barrel. What's the name of the cannon?
Smokey the Cannon.
I love it. Not to be confused with the old electric chair out there, Sparky in Huntsville.
Yeah, that's old Sparky, right?
Yeah. I think they got rid of the one in Florida after some guy's head caught on fire. Man, that was a rough one. Okay, let's get down to this game right now. And brother Ray Stevens in Round Rock, Texas. Horns are going to roll tomorrow. Let's talk about the breakdown. What do you think's going to happen, Ken? Texas and OU, both of them highly ranked teams. Texas probably getting more attention because of that epic victory on the road over Alabama. Let's break it down. Right.
Well, here's the way I look at it. Last year Texas won the game 49-0, which is the most lopsided score in the history of the 119. This will be the 119th time they played. And I'm gonna walk this way so maybe I can hear me a little better. But here's the big difference this year. This year Oklahoma's playing with a quarterback. Last year they didn't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
And this year they've got Dylan Gabriel, the kid from Hawaii, and he is playing lights out. He's completing 75% of his passes. And it's going to be a whole new ball game than last year. It's going to be very close, I believe. The Texas kicker has been very erratic the last 2 weeks. He's missed multiple field goals. In fact, there was talk about replacing him, but Sark said no, that they were going to stick with Brett Auburn this week. Yeah, that's his name.
Man.
I know we were like when they played Alabama, they said Auburn's about to beat Alabama.
Ken, the thing is, next time I see you, and I know you don't have those in Texas, I don't think, I'm going to buy you a steamer pack of crystals. Because what do y'all have? White Castle out there? Or do you have Crystal? No crystals in Texas, are there?
Whataburger won't allow them to come.
Yeah, we're a Whataburger state. Remember?
That's right.
Whataburger shuts them off at Texarkana.
Yeah, you're right. By the way, a Buc-ee's update, folks. Good God Almighty. We went to the new Buc-ee's in Auburn that opened up back in April. We went there Sunday about midday, and you go in there, and Audrey she goes crazy, and it's just an amazing place. And I 55,000 square feet, and I go, my God, 120 gas pumps, 150 urinals and toilets, and then it's all the food inside of there, and it's all but over 400 jobs. And I said, this is a big one. They said, well, we're building one in Crossville, Tennessee, which is between Nashville and Knoxville. And it's going to be Knoxville. 75,000 square feet. But from Memphis to Nashville, ain't no Buc-ee's. From Memphis to Little Rock, ain't no Buc-ee's.
That's right.
And then we got Love's Travel Plaza. Now, I checked on the net worth, the latest figure for the guy and his wife, the founders of Love's Travel Plaza. Argentina, don't cry for me. Evita Perón, don't cry for them. Net worth just over $9 billion. I sound like Carl Sagan. Millions and billions. $9 billion. But you know what? For the areas where, you don't have a Buc-ee's, there's Love's Travel Plazas everywhere. But it's the great travel plaza war going on.
Oh,
but the Buc-ee's guys at Texas A&M Aggie.
Yep.
He lives just south of Austin in a place called New Braunfels. New Braunfels. And by the way, their high school mascot in New Braunfels is the Unicorns. It's New Braunfels go Corns, go Unicorns. But and of course that somebody tried to build a bootleg Buc-ee's down in Mexico just a few months ago, and he had to sick his international lawyers on him. That was one thing they never thought of in New Braunfels, Texas. Who's gonna rip off Buc-ee's and try to start one in Mexico?
Oh, you're kidding me! They really did that?
Yes. And it was the Buc-ee. Besides it looking like a beaver, Buc-ee looked kind of like a mouse. And
there you go. Speedy Gonzalez.
Walt Disney versus Buc-ee.
Yeah.
Well, but they spelled it just a little bit different. But you would think that was a Buc-ee's, and boy, the Buc-ee's folks. I mean, this is no longer just a mom and pop operation. This is Buc-ee's is big time, and so they sicked their lawyers on them and got a cease and desist, and so they're out of business down there in Mexico.
Well, like this, they're going to build one in Hillsboro between Waco and Dallas. So that'll be another.
Well, I tell you what, Rob. When I come out there to Memphis to see you sometime, or we go to the Liberty Bowl or something, we'll make a Buc-ee's run.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this: they've got everything imaginable in there. And they've got clothes, furniture, and as Carl would say from Sling Blade, clothes, furniture, food, and whatnot and such. Do we have a technical definition? We're all from the South of what whatnots and such are. Does anybody know what whatnots and such? I mean, somebody could type it in. I'm getting all these texts, and I'm trying to type, but again, my typist Mildred is in there watching Perry Mason. Oh, by the way, news flash, he won his case.
Thank God. I was so worried about that.
Nervous.
Yeah. Well, the outgoing commissioner, or if he still has a job, George Kliavkoff of the Pac-12, I would compare him to a TV figure that we all have a lot of sympathy and pity for, District Attorney Hamilton Berger, who always went up against Perry Mason. Hamilton Berger. No, I was told this. He won one case against Perry Mason, but it was overturned on technical grounds.
There you go.
Only in America. I got to go back here to you, guys. This is a great one from one of our listeners. This guy we met, Casey Goodjohn. That's a Scandinavian spelling. That's correct. Goodgion in Johnson County, Texas. 20-year United States Marine. We met him down in Orange Beach. He was surf fishing a few weeks ago. Nothing better than sitting in a deer stand listening to Sidelines while I'm hunting in America. You can't make that up. He's sitting down there. It's bow season right now. And Texas has got some deer. I know some people that have leased property on the King Ranch, which is the size of Rhode Island. It's 950,000 acres. Now, In Alabama, everything, the question is asked at birth, is it a boy or a girl? No. Auburn or Alabama. That's it's the King or the King Ranch people, Aggies or Longhorns.
Bo, that's a good question. They even have here, and Casey knows this. By the way, Casey, thank you for your service, Semper Fi. And thanks so much for listening to Sidelines. I know exactly where Johnson County is. Great area out there. But they even have Chevy even has a King Ranch edition truck.
Yeah, truck.
Chevy, Ford does.
Yeah.
No, Ford does.
Is it Ford?
One of them,
absolutely.
they have the
Speaking
King,
of that, Red River Ford Toyota in Wynne, Arkansas.
Well, I don't want to make those guys mad.
No. By the way, they will deliver. They will deliver anywhere. Here's some of the towns they've been to recently: Nashville, Little Rock, Memphis, Tampa, Birmingham. They'll go anywhere. Check them out. RedRiverFordToyota.com. From Jim Neighbors.
Yeah.
Now, the ghost of Jim Neighbors in Sylacauga, Alabama. That's where Jim Neighbors is from, guys.
He is.
College football makes America great. So does NASCAR, and so does hunting and fishing. That's a good story for Bo. And
did you hear that? Guys, did y'all just hear that? That was Smokey the Cannon.
Yeah, I thought I heard something popping. I thought I heard something popping in the background. But
yeah, they just fired the shotgun start.
I love it in the golf tournament.
The cannon start.
The cannon start. Cannonball run. All right, I got to ask you this, and for Ken and Bo, if either one of you had the chance, would you want to do a story? Would you want to do a story and go find the people that own whatever the King Ranch and just find out if they're an Aggie or a Longhorn? I think that'd be a cool story. That's what makes true grit journalism. A lot of people, if you get off Interstate 22 around Tupelo, you'll see an exit for the Natchez Trace. Mm-hmm. That'll take you all the way up there to Franklin, to Leapers Fork and all that stuff. We ride bikes on it. And you know what? You got to go a little slower. I think the speed limit, guys, is 45 miles an hour.
50, I think. Yeah. 50.
Okay, 50.
And it's a federal offense if you get caught speeding.
Wow. But I'm going to tell you what, let me ask you this. If you had the time and you could do it, wouldn't you want to take the Natchez Trace from Tupelo up there to Leapers Fork and go to? And by the way, when my friend Neil Johnson lives up there, when we go bike riding, these long 60-mile rides, we get toward the finish, we stop off at Puckett's Grocery in Leapers Fork. And man, they don't have a meat and 3. They got an M16. That's a meat and 16 sides. It is unbelievable.
Well, Rob, boy, it's a small damn world because the Puckett family, I worked with Sharon Puckett at WSMV Channel 4 in Nashville, and she was an anchor. She was an anchor woman when I was there. Great family, and you probably know Charlie McAlexander, right?
Yeah,
the big sportscaster.
Unbelievable. He was in Memphis for a while.
Yeah.
Well, right. Well, Charlie was also at WSMV when I was there.
Yep.
And now he's got a band that's called the Charlie Mack Attack. And they play at Leapers Fork. So
awesome.
Yeah, when I was in Nashville for SEC Media Days, I got together with Charlie and we talked about that. And he goes, "Man, you have to come see me in my band." And so I've got to figure out a way to get back out there.
Well, I work for First Bank in addition to doing this show 6 days a week on my financial advisory team. And First Bank Amphitheater up there is absolutely gorgeous. Have all kinds of concerts there. Beautiful place to go. And, speaking of these guys, let's do this. Let's take a quick break from one of our sponsors. And, folks, do us a favor. Go to our website, www.sidelines.live. Support our sponsors. We're blessed to have them. And this is one of our sponsors from Nashville. We're so proud to have and be associated with a great cause. We're going to take this quick break. We're going to be right back. We've got Muji Bar and Sarah Jewell on with us right now, along with Bo Carter and Ken Capps on Sidelines.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am R.A. Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
Hey, Rob,
All right.
you ready for this?
Yeah.
We're going to fire the cannon for us. You guys ready?
Yep,
Yeah.
ready to
If
go.
anybody has a black or gray, you
Tell me when you're ready, guys.
GMC Denali. It's blocking the exit for smoking.
Stand by.
So if you have a black or gray Yukon Denali,
Move
please
it.
come up and let's move that so Smokey can get out. The other party.
There it goes.
That's Smokey.
How's that for your show, Rob?
Get that move so Smokey
That is
can get
impressive.
out.
Thank you, as Gomer
You
Powell
can
would
move
say.
that.
That was awesome. All right, man. Look,
Yeah,
they
baby.
fired the
Thank you,
cannon,
sir.
so it's time for rapid fire. Let's get after some games. OU Texas. Let's get a prediction real quick from Ken, and then Bo. Got several
Thank you,
games we're going
fellas.
to do for the next
Thank
20
you,
minutes.
fellas.
We're going to
Hook 'em.
go just bam, bam, bam. Bo, give me your prediction on OU and Texas tomorrow at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas at the Texas State Fair, 11 a.m. Central kickoff.
Richard
It
Leonard
won't
is
be
here.
49-0, that's for sure, Rob. So, like last year, they said Oklahoma came out and ran the veer option with a defensive quarterback. So, but no, I could see it like it's funny. It's usually 24-21 or 28-24 either way. So these teams are both loaded. Depends on how the Quinn Ewers of Texas and Dylan Gabriel, the Oklahoma quarterback, is thrown for 15 touchdowns the first 5 games. So
Yeah.
it could be an air raid game.
All right. Ken Caps, let's get your prediction. Texas OU tomorrow, 11 a.m.
You got it.
kickoff.
You got it. Hey, I'm walking back from the cannon here. So,
I love it.
so yeah, my ears are ringing now.
I just talked about the ringing ears.
Well, here's what it's going to be, guys. The way I see it, Texas has only scored 40 points one time this year, which was last week. They're a second half team. I would not be surprised if the game is very, very close at halftime. But my prediction is that Texas is going to pull away and win in the second half with Quinn Ewers, all those great wide receivers he has. I don't think the OU defense can stop them. Of course, they'll do better than they did last year, but I don't think they can stop them. And it all depends on the Texas field goal kicker. He's been so erratic. If it comes down to a field goal, I don't like the Texas chances, but I think Texas is going to win like 38-35, 38-31.
All right. Next one. Arkansas travels to Ole Miss. Bo, Razorbacks, 3-game skid right now. They're reshuffling the offensive line. Sam Pittman, sticking his head in the meeting rooms because that's always been his deal is offensive line. He's one of the elite coaches in the country. What's going to happen at the vault tomorrow? Remember what happened last week?
Yep.
Ole Miss 55-49 over LSU. But this week, totally different ball game.
Yep. Ole Miss is trying to recover from $175,000 in fines to the SEC office to stopping the. I forgot they stopped the game for people throwing stuff out on the field.
I know. God,
a few years ago in Knoxville, but no. Arkansas worked the Arkansas Texas A&M game, Rob, and Arkansas is pretty beaten up. So, and Ole Miss is on a roll right now. So I think Ole Miss should win pretty handily. I mean, a couple of touchdowns, but you never. KJ Jefferson, the Arkansas quarterback, is really either fantastic or he's kind of where he'll throw a pick six or fumble on the 2-yard line.
Right.
Got running back 98 yards. So he's just he's a great talent from Sardis, Mississippi, which is like 20 miles from Oxford. So,
well, he grew up 8 miles from Vaught Hemingway Stadium.
8 miles, Sardis, right? Big fishing area over there. But no, I think Ole Miss will take them.
All right, Ken?
I agree with Bo. Ole Miss has just got way too much, especially at home. Arkansas, I was really surprised that Arkansas did not play better against A&M over in Jerry World last week. I watched that game, and I think Ole Miss is going to roll.
All right, next one. There's a big one in College Station tomorrow.
Mm.
The girls, the women's soccer match. No, I'm kidding. No, Alabama and Texas A&M. All right, that's the 2:30 CBS game. All right, let's go back in these, like 2 years ago. Mallory was getting married October 9th over in Atlanta, and, you know, she comes up, she goes, what they cannot lose on the night of my wedding, and most of the people in her Alabama. And I said, sometimes life sucks. Gotta deal with it and fight on. And it was back and forth. And then last year, and the Aggies won that one. First time ever, a Saban former assistant beat him. Then last year, Jalen Milroe plays because Bryce Young is held out because he was banged up from a previous game. And it goes down to the last play inside the 5. Alabama's defense holds. Bo Carter, something's got to give tomorrow in College Station.
Rob, it's going to be a wild atmosphere. The Aggie mascot Reveille may bite somebody in the rear end. It's happened a few times.
That's right.
Ken and I heard the story about biting one of the Texas women's basketball players one year down there. Pulled her pants. Reveille must be under Bevo and Reveille must be held under control by their handlers at all time. But anyway, I think A&M might beat them at home. The judge for the last 2 years, and Jimbo seems to get fired up for these big games, and his, again, Ken and I have talked about it. His $75 million payoff, but his job is kind of resting on this year's performance. So if he wins this one, wins 10 or 11 games, he might get another 10-year contract. You never know down there.
Well, it's going to be interesting, I think, because if A&M would beat Alabama there in Kyle Field, that's going to be a knockout punch for Alabama getting into the CFP. So, and I think that Nick and his crew know that. The one thing I agree with you. I think A&M can definitely win this game. But it's going to come down, I think, again, to the defenses, because just like Jalen Milroe has been having his problems, Max Johnson is the backup for Connor Wegman, who's now out for the year. So, I think that, Max Johnson has not seen a defense like Alabama. So I think it's going to be a very, very close game. The Aggies can pull the upset. But I think Alabama and Nick will be screaming at those guys like he did last week, where I thought he was going to pop a vessel in his carotid artery or something. But I think Alabama pulls it out in the end.
Yeah, and I've noticed Nick Saban coaching a lot more this year.
Yes.
And this is just my take, and I have a lot of Alabama friends I talk to. That man is so competitive. Yes, he's got 7 national championships, but he won one of them at LSU, 6 at Alabama. Coach Bryant won 6 at Alabama. I think he's so competitive. There's 2 things. I think even he is so competitive. People question 2020, the year of the virus, but guess what? Everybody had to deal with the same stuff. So it was a national championship. They were the best team in America, hands down. But I think he wants to win at least 7 at Alabama.
Wants one more.
I won one more. No disrespect to Coach Bryant, because he is, he's the bear. But I just think he's that competitive. And I do think that he's going to pull the hair out of the middle of his head. He is so intense. But you know what? Like that player said, if you can't take intense coaching, don't sign up for Alabama. If you don't like blood, don't sign up for the Marine Corps. You know what you're getting into. All right. Wolfman Jack in Scuba, Mississippi. That's down on 45. Ow!
Then to Scuba.
But you remember those commercials for Clearasil? The acne. He goes, hey, ow! He goes, hey, Wolfman, my brother's got a face like a pepperoni pizza. Hey, try the new Clearasil. It clears up acne, pimples, and zits and everything. Ow! Wolfman Jack. Anyway, Scuba, Mississippi's on Highway 45. Yep. It's not too far from Buckatuna, down south of Macon.
There you go.
But that is beautiful, beautiful. The land that time forgot. We just came up through there a couple of weeks ago on the way back from Orange Beach. All right, another game. Got to ask you all about. I'm not going to say Auburn's off this weekend. Tennessee is off this weekend. Florida's got Vandy. I think Florida wins that game. We talked about in the first segment. That I can't even imagine them losing. All right, tomorrow there's two storylines here. The Braves at the Battery taking on the Phillies. Same time, Georgia between the hedges against an undefeated, as Sonny Wilson said at the Tavern, 1445 Jackson, the oldest tavern in Memphis since 1953, celebrating 70 years of the best burgers, hot wings, coldest beer, flat screen TVs, Greek ribs, Greek barbecued shrimp, and Rocky Kasaftas, my man. But anyway, my ADD just got hold of me. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, we're going back to the Kentucky-Georgia game. What's going to happen between that? I was there 2 years ago. Billy Roberts and I went over there and met with Lauren Smith of the Georgia football pregame, which starts 7 hours before the game. It's unreal. The guy's a rock star. He's absolutely one of the coolest people I've ever known. And, Kentucky came in undefeated. But real quick, Bo, what happens tomorrow? This Kentucky team, fresh off beating Florida, Georgia coming after a close win at Auburn. What something's got to give.
Well, I think Georgia was looking ahead of Auburn to play Kentucky this week.
Oh, sure.
Between the hedges, it's pretty tough, and Georgia's great tight. The 6'7" tight end may catch. They'll lob it up into the end zone to him a few times or whatever too. Yeah. So I think Georgia wins. Mark Stoops done a great job at Kentucky with the transfer running back from Vanderbilt that's tearing everybody up. So.
Yeah, and I'm waiting to see John Calipari on the sidelines cheering for Kentucky football. Yeah, because right. By God, you see that with Bruce Pearl. Bruce Pearl, I mean, is everywhere pulling for football because he knows what that does for basketball. And as my friend Vice Versa says, vice versa. All right, Ken, what happens tomorrow? I love the writers' takes on these games because you're looking at it like a mechanical engineer, working with the architect. Okay, these are the plans. Let me make this thing work. That's what engineers do. Ken, between the hedges tomorrow, give me a score.
It's all Georgia. They're not going to let. That game. I was at the Texas-Kansas game last week, and they kept flashing that score. The Georgia Auburn game up, and there were signs that Texas could become number one if somehow that Georgia lost last week. But I think this week they take care of business. I'd say 42-21, something like that. And by the way, I didn't get a chance to respond to Chris Saxon. You're right, my friend. I'll be eating all kinds of fried stuff tomorrow at the Texas State Fair. Fried Oreos are what I like. But they've got fried everything. And this is not something I'll partake of, but they've got a new item this year. I know if Rob was here, he'd buy a whole case of them. They have fried Red Ball whiskey.
Yeah, I saw that in the middle.
Holy, you mean Fireball or Red Ball?
Fireball.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Somehow they're going to fry it, and you can eat it.
Right. Okay. Here, I love this one. The ghost of Larry Munson in Carrollton, Georgia. What do you got, Lauren? Well, Larry, Georgia just having a hard time with Ray Davis, a running back for Kentucky. 124 yards in the first quarter. If they can't slow him down, it's going to be a long day. But I think the Georgia defense, all right, that's enough. Another half of football to go. We'll be right back here. Georgia, my God, they've got to hunker down. We cannot lose to Kentucky. The walls will cave in. We'll be right back with Georgia in the Optimist Day. Larry Munson, I like what Vince Dooley said in this interview. He said, and it was a hilarious story that Lauren Smith was telling on sidelines, and he comes on a lot. And he said, Vince Dooley said, Larry was so negative. I just said, Larry, I can't take this. You're depressing me, and Vince Dooley would often say, Billy talks about a lot is, well, we hope we're going to have enough players to dress out today for this game. And I'm just concerned about this game. It's going to be a hard one. They'd win, 49-3 or something like that. But it's a different world we live in. But all right, more games around the conference. LSU last week. I watched that one down in Auburn after we were heartbroken with the Georgia. Look, if your fans don't get mad after a loss, you got problems, and certainly your team. Yep. But don't get, as a GA told me after I bombed a Spanish test, spring quarter of '86, she said, Rob, Don't get mad about it. Do something about it.
Do something.
All right.
I love that. So, look, LSU, this is a great offense. I don't know. It's not as, the 2019 offense. You don't have Joe Burrow, but you got Jaden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
Missouri is 5-0. That makes them undefeated, Sonny. What happens tomorrow in Columbia? Because, man, they may even let people sit on those rocks tomorrow. The crowd will be so big. That won't be a very comfortable sit, though.
We might have Ken's friend Missouri Tiger Richardson of the football writers running out on the field to try to stop an LSU drive. But Rob, I think LSU takes them. Honestly, Missouri hasn't really played anybody very good. They kind of struggle around with Vanderbilt this week, which is really that's saying something right there. But I think LSU's. I'm thinking about the LSU Mississippi State game. Missouri similar to Mississippi State in talent. I think LSU just outguns them. I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking of the great words from the movie Network for LSU. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yep.
I think LSU is mad as hell. And, they've been, oh my gosh, ever since, it all goes back to when Brian Kelly, started making those comments there at the beginning of the season, and it's been rocky ever since. But I think LSU comes out madder than hell and beats the Tigers. Sorry, Tiger Richardson, but I think that's what happens.
Yeah, I think LSU wins 38-14. I will not be surprised. Scott Rabelais was on with us a couple of days ago, and he said, Rob, he started laughing because, y'all know him, the Baton Rouge Stateside and the Advocate, great sports writer down there, still wears a coat and tie in the press box out of respect to Jesse Outler, Furman Bisher, the great writers. And Scott Rabelais is first class. And I met him at Media Days. I've seen him for years. Great writer. And, my wife, Audrey, goes, I need to send something to the Rebelsis guys. Come on, you rube. It's Rabelais. Now I talked to Smith Tanner, one of our members from Lake Charles. He goes, oh, man, I know a lot of Rabelais. Very common name down there in Baton Rouge. But he grew up a mile away from campus and has been writing for 35 years. Yeah, Ken, I got a story idea for you. I mean, okay. I'm sure you have a lot of flexibility, but next Friday, the 13th, it's going to be in Memphis, big game at Simmons Bank Liberty Bowl Stadium, Tulane and Memphis. I mean, I think that's going to be a cool story. My friend, Dr. Bill Hardgrave, I knew him at Auburn, but I've gotten to know him a lot better at Memphis. Former dean of the College of Business down there and the provost, took over April 1st of 22. Wow. That means that April 1st of 2024 will be 2 years. I'm pretty good with my gazendas. Ken, when you're writing a story about what Ryan Silverfield and they're doing at Memphis, there are 6 billionaires in the city of Memphis, 6 billionaire families.
Including you.
Yeah, right.
Browne family.
But here's the thing. I look at these. Most people in Memphis have never been asked to support the program,
right?
And so, Ken, if you were writing a story, and it'd be cool if you could cover that Memphis Tulane game, or Bo, whatever. But what would you? I keep telling the Memphis people, you want to get in a big conference, stack 60,000 in that stadium.
Right.
Not because of who you're playing, because you're going to see the Memphis Tigers. But translate that to any team in America. Ken, write that story.
Man, that is a great story, Rob, and I'll tell you it's happening right here in Texas. UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio. They have turned San Antonio into UTSA proud. Mm-hmm. And they fill up that Alamo Dome with people that never went to UTSA, that have nothing to do with UTSA, but that it's the hometown school, and people come out there and tailgate. The band comes out and tailgates in the parking lot with the fans and plays music. And then right here closer to home, SMU. SMU is now Dallas's team.
Yeah.
And so they got a lot of people that are coming out and, taking that civic pride and getting behind the school because, SMU is a small school. It's hard for them to fill their stadium. TCU's doing the same thing. Northwestern up in Evanston, my other alma mater, they call themselves Chicago's Big Ten team. And so I think it would be great if Memphis would look at those examples and see that they can turn out people to come to those games who are not graduate. Well, I didn't graduate from there, or I went to school somewhere else. No. You're coming out to support the city of Memphis and your hometown college. And that kind of pride can go a long way. It's happened. I see successes all over the country.
Yeah, and Bo right there in the Metroplex, I'll say it.
Thank you.
But they got Dallas across the front, or they use that area code, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and both of y'all, the power of the written word.
Mm-hmm.
Bo,
I was going to say this is like Cotton Bowl rematch from Memphis was here about 4 years ago with Tony Pollard, that great. And then Tulane won that great Cotton Bowl win, last second win over USC. They had the American Athletic Media Days over there, and the coach could look out the window and see the Cotton Bowl Stadium there AT&T Stadium in the background. So and by the way, Ken, I got good news. The manager of the King Ranch is a guy named Jim Clement, who has a finance degree from Texas and MBA from Tulane. So you get the Texas Tulane deal.
All right. Well, there's your answer, Rob. See, that's why Bo's a great reporter, man. That's why he's an SID. Hey, SID Poobah. Thank you.
And it's close to A&M Kingsville down there, Kingsville, Texas. So
right.
Well,
they like the Aggies too.
Well, yeah, and it was 950,000. I remember one time as a young lad for spring break. I was like 14. We drove from Memphis down to Harlingen, Laguna Atascosa, bird watching with my dad, and we went across the border into Mexico. That was quite an experience. And my dad told me a story. He said, "Boy, let me tell you something. You almost weren't born." I go, "Why?" He goes, "'Cause I almost killed your mother." I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Let me tell you why. They spent the summer in Oaxaca, or as the rednecks call it, Oaxaca, in Oaxaca, Mexico. Spent the summer down there. They accumulated a lot of stuff down there. My mom bought all kind of stuff. They're coming across the border there in Nuevo Laredo. And the guy goes, "Senor, do you have anything to declare?" My dad said, "Nope." He goes, "Have a good day." My mother goes, "Hold on a second. Stop." She stops.
Thank you, Mom.
She goes, "We've been shopping." The guy goes, "Pull your car over to the side." And they had to take everything out. He goes, "Boy," he goes, 6 hours later in that hot sun, he said, "All right, you're clear to go." He goes, "That's how you almost weren't born."
Right. That's
wow. The border there. But so we went back there, and I tell you what, man, South Texas is freaking awesome. I mean,
yes, it is.
It's just those people down there, because I mean, we learned Spanish. Thank you, Miss Rudolph, my kindergarten and first grade teacher, speaking Spanish. So my dad said, "Go over there and ask that man, how long he's been in the United States." And I said, "Señora, hace que vive en los Estados Unidos, señor." And he goes, 20 años. I said, "¿Te gustan los Estados Unidos?" He said, "Sí." I said, "Mucho." I said, "Bienvenidos a los Estados Unidos." You got to be, y'all, I bet y'all all speak Spanish, don't you?
A little, not as much as I need to.
No, we call it here in Texas, we call it Spanglish.
Spanglish, that's what it is.
Well, hey, Feinbaum had a great caller that used to call him on the show. And he goes, "All right, thanks so much. Give us a call next time, Mumbles." Because this guy would talk and he go, mumbles. You can't make it up. But again, I still remember that day. I'm in the bookstore at Auburn, and I hear this guy going, "Yeah, I tell you, Myrtle and I, we look at old Paul Finnebaum on the TV." Finnebaum.
Yeah.
You can't make it. All right. Thank both of y'all so much for sharing your time with us. All of our listeners, our sponsors. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least of among us. And I promise you, you know what that means? You know what it means. You hear it in Mass. You hear it in church. Ken, you go out and minister and do so much great work. Bo, the same thing. All of us are blessed. We talk about this. We're blessed. Go out and bless others. We all have gifts. No matter what you think, we all have gifts. Kind words and kind deeds go further than you can ever imagine. Think about that when you see somebody out there. As Audrey said one time 2 years ago, going across the old Mississippi River Bridge, we saw a guy with a backpack walking across the bridge, and she goes, "You know what? Say your prayers for that guy, because somewhere out there in America, there's a family worrying about him." Think about all the great you can do, because as George Strait said, you can't take it with you. Great folks, great people, great show. We will be back on with you tomorrow. I hate that we ran out of time, but Carol Burnett came out there, and I'll spare you me singing.
Thank you.
I'm so glad we had this. But anyway, a lot of football tomorrow, folks. Get ready. We're out of here. See you tomorrow.